New year, new me, you're finally going to learn the Thai language once and for all. Mistakes people regret not doing when starting learning Thai. This has been a common thread in several threads across Facebook Thai learning groups over the past couple of weeks. I've put them together along with a bunch of responses that I've received feedback from other people that have learned with me over the years. Number one, I know you know that I'm going to say this. Learn to read from the get-go. It was almost unanimous through these threads. People who finally achieved some sort of fluency in Thai all said that they should have learnt the Thai script from the start. Now, I know there are many discussions about this. Oh, you can learn a language without learning the script, and look at Chinese, they have Hanyu Pinyin. No. I get that. The thing is, if you choose to actively not learn the Thai script, you're actively sabotaging your ability to progress in the language. Why? The tone system is baked into the writing. It's not like Vietnamese where you have one diacritic per tone. The Thai tone system is this beautiful system that fits the tone system of not only Thai but all tonal languages in this area like a glove. So once you understand it, you're actually training your voice, you're training your subconscious to start thinking about the language like a Thai, and the tones will come naturally. That's why I spent so much time in my site here. I built so many tools about teaching the consonants and getting your tones down. So if you write the word, for example, cow for white, you can see this is a high class and it's from this box up here, so you know it's a rising tone. If all of a sudden I want to change the tone marker on this high class, cow, you see it's jumped over here, cow. That tone marker is not the low tone, by the way. So if I put a low class here, say cow, you can see this now down here is just this common tone. If I put the same tone marker, you get cow. So these two words, the word cow and cow, same tone marker, but different tones. That's because it's actually an ingenious system where the tone markers aren't marking tones. They're actually throat position and throat action markers. And so when this type of consonant blends with this type of throat action, you will get these things happening. And so the beautiful thing is about Thai, if you learn the script from the very start, that's going to stay with you for life. And not only does it work for Bangkok Thai, but here you have Isan. So if you're living in Isan, you can just go click, have the same spelling, and you'll know how to pronounce it perfectly in Isan. In Northern Thai, in Southern Thai, you want to go to Lao, you get the same words, bang, you know exactly how to pronounce things because the spelling never changes. Well, almost never. Not only that, in learning the writing, you learn how to control your throat. You will learn that the middle class consonants, now you'll never learn this if you're not learning to read and write, have the throat closed. So you can see this throat closing off. So if I say an unaspirated P, look at that, the glottis is closed. Ah, versus an aspirated P, the glottis is open. And if you mix these P's up, Thais will be confused. It's not the same as in English. All P's weren't made equal. And so learning your classes of the consonants is actually going to train your throat. It's going to get the tones into your system, and your subconscious isn't going to be hit by your mother tongue's way of rendering those letters. Number two, learn Thai fonts from the get-go. So not only are you learning the script, but very often if you learn the Thai script, say, like, let's take this letter, for example, Phop, you'll see it like this. But if I click up here, and you can see this is the normal font that people learn to write Thai in. But in reality, let me just get rid of that here. I've put these fonts here, by the way. This is all free. You can jump in at crackinglanguage.com. I've got quick fonts. So this is actually the handwriting version. So when you see Thai's actually right, you see it's missing the head here. It doesn't have the loops. And you've got these little points on the end here, which look very different to this version here. And then there are these other fonts. So this is like a marketing font that you'll see in a lot of advertisements, and there are no loops at all. And so I've built this tool actually so you can learn all the fonts from the get-go. My 4-year-old daughter, she's learning to read Thai, and she sits here and plays and she clicks between the fonts. And I haven't just put Thai fonts in here. By the way, I've got a dotted font. You can't really see it with that grid. If I click up there, you can see the dot. Let me just scale it up here. So you can see the dots here. So you can actually practice with these dots as well, just like you would in a kid's book. But moreover, I've actually included other cool ones like the Com and the Lana script. So this is, if you go to northern Thailand, you'll see this script in a lot of places. It's the old Lana script. You can actually learn these as just alternate fonts here, and it's super fun then. You can start decoding the puzzles that you see all around you. Turn learning into a game. Learn the fonts. Number 3, master the tones early. I just mentioned that in the writing system, the tones are inherent in the writing system. There is not a single syllable you can make that's not going to have a tone applied to it. So learn how the tones interact with the writing and interact with your throat and your mouth. And again, I've spent an inordinate amount of time making this totally free tool for you so you can train yourself up with the tones. This is one that I put a clip out the other day teaching to Thai. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You follow the contours. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Learn to master these tones and the tone rules. And so if you want to see the tone rules, you can see in the mapper here. So again, I've mapped out all of these tones. This is Central Thai, and you can see how they relate here. And this tool, by the way, is super useful because I have Thai words, I have the meaning for them, and the phonetic value. So you can actually learn the tone rules within these classes. You can take these out to a bunch of Thais that you know and you say, hey, can you pronounce these for me? And see how they actually map here. Make sure as you learn the tones and you learn the sounds of the language, you're learning from real humans. You're getting it from real specimens. Don't just think, I know what that would sound like. You want to get real specimens of the language. So I've built this tool so you can actually take it out into the field and have real life native Thai speakers speak back to you. And if you look down here, I can say expand all. You can even import, export all of these word lists. So you can build your own word lists as you're learning and as you're getting more complex vocabulary, take them to Thais and get them to pronounce them for you. So learn the tones early and you've got them here. And again, just like with these other ones, I don't just have Thai. I have so many dialects: Isan, Northern Thai, Southern Thai, Lao, Chinese, Cantonese, Vietnamese, and these are all TAI, Thai languages like Zhuang from southern China. Isn't it amazing? This one system, which is rendered within the Thai writing system, can be used right across all of these languages. That's just mind-blowing. Number 4, learn to play your voice like an instrument. Again, this is why I've put this tool here in, say, the consonant compass. You can see the map of the mouth here. When you're learning the consonants, when you're learning the vowels, when you're learning the tones, you need to be able to realize what effects your mother tongue is having on your mouth. Do you do glottal stops naturally? Do you aspirate things naturally at the end of syllables? So once you know that, you can start to take control. And just like a good musician, you're able to transpose. You could play a song in D and then shift it to E flat. You can turn something from major to minor. Once you know how to play the instrument of your voice, all of this stuff becomes much, much easier, and the language is going to stick faster. So spend some time learning to use your voice, learning how your voice works, learning how your mother tongue influences you, and you'll see instant results in your Thai. Number 5, don't be afraid to speak, but also learn to listen. So many people jump in and they just want to say whatever they can. They might get their Lonely Planet book or something and just go and say anything in Thai to some Thais and see what reaction they get. And while that enthusiasm is great, you could be setting yourself up with some bad habits because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know whether you're aspirating or not aspirating correctly. You don't know if the tone's right. You don't know if your vowel length is right or wrong, or if you're saying or ooh. Your ears aren't trained yet. And so what I would say is, at the same time, when you're learning to use your voice as an instrument, learn to listen. And so there's a caveat there. Don't be afraid to speak. Don't be afraid to speak, but also speak in what you hear, not in what you just want to say. Number 6, learn real-world Thai. The reality is, if you open a guidebook, a learning book, or even in schools that teach foreigners Thai, there's a tendency to teach a version of Thai that I would call Phalang Thai. It's Thai that, will get you by, but as soon as you open your mouth, you know that this is not natural Thai. So you may be able to get things done, but you're never going to fit into the society. You're never going to be fun at a table with a bunch of Thai friends because the language you use just feels unnatural. So I would say get real specimens of the language. Go and put yourself in situations where the real language is being used outside of your books and outside of your classes. Number 7, learn to understand spoken Thai. So this piggybacks on to the last one, making sure that you're saying what you hear. But the reason I say this is because when many people come in and learn Thai and they realize, actually, I need to read, I need to learn the tone rules, they start focusing on every single syllable and try and give the exact tone to every single syllable. And that also is a mistake because you're going to sound unnatural, even to the point that some Thais won't understand you. There's a thing called tone sandhi. And so what sandhi is, this is from Sanskrit, and it's what two things or two sort of mouth movements are going to do when they hit together. So if I was to use sandhi in an English example, if I said, where did you go? The words are where did, D-I-D-U-Y-O-U, go. But when I say it as a native English speaker, where did you go? Where did you go? My tongue's sort of just tapping my mouth. Where did you? And the did you, D-Y, turns into j. Where did you go? Where did you go? Where did you go? And that's very normal. Where'd you go? If you heard me say that, you'd think, he's a native English speaker. And this is the same with Thai. So when Thais speak, the tone rules are one thing, but when you actually speak, the way things blend together might shift. So hear those things and learn to repeat that back. You need to learn to understand spoken Thai. And a lot of the time, it's not going to match the things that Thais tell you that they say. Just because your teacher told you that this is how you say it and this is the rule, they're saying that because they have to give you an answer. Maybe they haven't even thought of the question that you asked them and they just had to come up with something. Number 8, make Thai friends. And maybe delay meeting your spouse, your future husband or wife, until you can actually speak a bit of Thai. The reason I say this is when a lot of expats come to Thailand and they're staying within this expat bubble, they will be meeting with mainly expats, foreigners, and there's a certain maybe subsection of the Thai community, say you're here in Bangkok, that will be within that group, and most of those people can speak English. And so you're basically limiting yourself to a very small subset of the entire Thai population. Also, when many of these people who are used to mixing with foreigners, the Thais, they will tend to use maybe a Phalang version of Thai as well. That instead of using the right pronouns, they'll say you and I instead of whatever the pronoun that you would use if you were a native speaker of Thai. But if you put it off a little bit where you can actually start communicating in Thai and you go out and build Thai circles of Thai friends, bang, you have the entire Thai population that you can start to build up around you and be influenced from, and who knows who you're going to meet there. So not only would I say start making more Thai friends, but even delay getting into any serious relationships until you're getting your Thai under your belt, and who knows who you're going to meet. It could be life-changing. Number 9, do not learn Thai in a bar. I know there are certain people who come here to Thailand because they love the bar life and they love living in that scene. And there is a particular demographic of girls that may work in these bars. And very often when I hear a foreigner start to speak, I can often call probably whether or not they learnt it in a bar, especially those first initial 10 sentences, 20 sentences that they end up using for years. You can often instantly tell that they've learnt them in a bar. How? One, because it's not maybe polite language. It's not the kind of language that you would use in normal Thai context. You would only use it in a bar. And sometimes that language is language that even Thais wouldn't use amongst themselves. Maybe the Thais in the bar have told you certain things that they think are cheeky, that they couldn't get away with outside of the bar, but they've taught you. And then you've taken that in as real Thai and gone out and used it in the real world. Also, Many people who work in these bars may not be from Bangkok. So maybe they're from Isan or other provinces in Thailand. And you can almost instantly hear if somebody has learnt from somebody who speaks with an Isan accent. Maybe their Sala sounds more like a Sala air. But these tells are on the language. And if you're here for the long term, if you want to create a good impression with your Thai, and you can hear these bar influences on your Thai, it's going to have an impact on the first impression that you make with Thais later on if you're doing business or if you're at some event where you have to meet somebody important. You don't want to be speaking this low level of Thai that you'd use in a bar. Number 10, bad language is not funny. I know, and again, this hooks into the last one, learning Thai in a bar. Often people will learn foul language, sort of risque language. And don't get me wrong, Thais aren't stick in the muds. Thais have a wicked sense of humor and have a wicked way of playing on words, but they do it in a Thai way. So what happens a lot of the time, maybe you get some guys that go into a bar, they start learning language that they're sort of flirting back and forth with the girls in the bar. Maybe they're speaking of genitals or sex or stuff like this, but they're doing it in a way that a Falang may joke and be risque in English. When that's translated across into Thai, it just sounds really bad, really crass, and it is not funny. There are funny ways of using the language, but this is in a Thai way. For example, I mentioned kampuan in a clip a few days ago, where you sort of play around. It's almost pig Latin for Thai, where you swap the endings of syllables around and you come up with new words. Any Thai knows exactly what you're talking about. And so you can have these double entendres on your Thai. That's funny. And you're using foul language in a Thai way, but you wouldn't be using that until later on in your language stage too. And you choose when to use that. You just don't come out to anybody. You think, oh, you speak Thai, and you blurt this thing out. That's going to kill your reputation in Thai. People won't want to associate with you. They won't want to do business with you, and you'll have a big red mark against you in Thai society. So even though you might think it's funny learning some bad words in Thai and then going out and using it and seeing the reaction with other Thais, it's not funny, and it could sabotage your existence within the kingdom. So there you go. 10 mistakes that people regret when learning Thai. Let me know your experience in the comments below. Again, I've put so much time into building these tools because I've tried to address many of these so people start off learning Thai on the right foot and other languages. If you don't have a copy of Cracking Thai Fundamentals, click on the link below, because this actually tells you how to prepare your body, prepare your mind, prepare your environment, everything around you so you can set off on the right foot. And then I take you through many of these things, which these tools will actually complement. And once more, these tools are totally free. I've put them out there because I want anybody who's learning Thai to be able to learn it well. Thank you to everybody for your support. Don't forget to click like and subscribe and hit the bell, especially if you're learning Thai, because the clips that I put out, they'll give you cultural insights, linguistic insights, and even the clips that I do in Thai, you'll be able to see Thai's responses to things that maybe you hadn't even thought about. So I hope that all of my content can be useful for you if you're living here and you're learning language. Not just Thai too, I put stuff out in other languages. Come in and join in the discussion on Discord. I have the link in the description below. I'm Stuart J. Raj. I'll see you on the other side.